Welcome to the Lou Blakely Show. You're in the right place if you're a service provider who is ready to transition into a more freedom-based business model with digital products. In this podcast, I share with you a unique combination of launch strategy, energetics, and mindset to create true, long-lasting success. It's time to ditch the burnout for good, create the business that you truly want, and share it with the world. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome to episode 34 of the Lou Blakely Show. Today, I'm going to be talking and sharing my predictions for courses and other digital products for the coming year for 2023. So right now, today, it is the end of December. We're in that kind of like, what day is it between Christmas and New Year's? And yeah, I hope you're enjoying that phase of like just absolute rest if you're in it, or if you're working as well. Good on you. I feel like this year I'm not really feeling like I want to rest that much, mainly because this past year I broke my foot and all that, which meant a lot of couch time, and I actually feel like I've had plenty of rest. So however this time period looks for you, I hope you're enjoying it. I wanted to talk to you about this because I really think it's important to start thinking, well, what's going to change in the next 12 months? Is anything going to change? Are all of these trends and fads that we see coming up, especially the AI one, which I'm seeing heaps in my on social media at the moment, is this really going to impact what we're doing if we're kind of wanting to create and launch and grow our online course-based businesses? So I thought I'd dive into this today. I always think it's important to kind of think ahead, what's happening in the market, what do people want, how is that changing? And I do think we're in quite a changing phase in the online world at the moment. So it is definitely an interesting time. Now, with this topic of my predictions for the coming year, I am talking specifically about online courses and group coaching programs and any kind of digital product in that kind of educational teaching space, and specifically the small business coaching and influencer space. So I'm not so much referring to how online courses is going to grow with big corporations or, universities and that kind of thing. I think that's a totally different market. So I'm not talking about that. And there's no doubt that stuff that's going to continue to grow, and we're going to see more and more of that coming out for sure. Online learning really has become so mainstream compared to when I first started doing it. And that's really cool. But yeah, I guess I just wanted to share that I am talking specifically about small businesses, people who work from home, who have these kind of freedom-based businesses like you, hopefully, that you're going to create online courses and sell them. That's going to be your main income, maybe alongside coaching or something like that. There's no doubt that this particular part of the online world is going to keep growing, but I definitely think there's some challenges kind of coming up at the moment. And I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? I think we all know that. So the pandemic, while it's still brewing and kind of getting a few outbreaks here and there, it is largely over and life is mainly back to normal, thank God. However, I don't think online learning is over, and I think that some people think that online learning is over, and it definitely is not. Yes, people are craving in-person connection more than ever, actually, after being stuck at home for most of 2020 and 2021. But the online learning and online course industry was growing exponentially before the pandemic even happened. I think what happened is just those 2 years really accelerated it. The pandemic made it all mainstream. Like everyone suddenly knew what Zoom was. We'd been using Zoom for ages. I think people in the corporate world suddenly realized that there was this whole other side to how people make money on the internet. And I feel like it became mainstream in the way that people know about it now, but I still don't believe it's considered to be normal, like when maybe you've just had a Christmas and you had to tell people what you did and you couldn't really explain it. And they're like, how do you make money from that? Like, I think this industry has always been based on that. Really, it has always been kind of around like people don't really understand what we do. So I don't think it's mainstream in that way, but I think the knowledge of it has become more mainstream that, you can actually get a lot done working from home, and so much so that a lot of corporations aren't even requiring their staff to go back into the office again. So I think that's really cool. I don't think the whole idea that you can make a lot of money from selling what you know is mainstream yet. But I have heard a few people, I guess the reason why I'm sharing that is I have heard some people make statements recently, like just in passing conversations, that, people are not going to buy courses anymore because everyone is back to normal. But the thing is, that's so not true, because online courses were already there beforehand. I think more people are aware of them now, which is only going to be a good thing. They're definitely still relevant, and this space is going to continue to grow. The projected speed of growth in this industry is huge, and that's been happening since like way back in 2015, and it's still growing, and it's still got a lot of space to grow. I think the pandemic just literally sped that up. However, I do think it's going to change a little bit in the coming years. And there's a few reasons why I think this. And like, this is my predictions, right? I don't know if any of this is going to really change that much, or if it's going to make such an impact. But here's what I think. Why it is going to kind of change a little bit. Firstly, I think there's a lot of people out there now doing this. A lot of people have kind of entered this market. They know that they can create online courses. While it's still not mainstream, there's more people that know that they can make money doing this, and a lot more people have jumped in. So, you hear, I know people feel like it's really noisy out there. So, you might be wondering, well, how can I stand out? How can I stay competitive now that this market is a lot bigger? I also think another reason it could change is there's way less dependence on ads now and more focus on organic, like social media marketing, like posting and that kind of thing, which can be difficult for those people who don't have the time or the energy for creating content all of the time. So it's become a really content-driven world and less about the ads, because there is a misconception that ads are really unaffordable now, which isn't necessarily true. People are also, like I said, it's become more mainstream, but I think there's been a kind of cynicism, I guess, of those in the coaching industry who are making a ton of money without really helping anyone or teaching people things of value. And this is completely subjective. Like, some people may have had a bad experience with a course for whatever reason. It wasn't quite what they thought it was, and then they kind of bash that course or whatever. But I am seeing a kind of repeatable pattern where there are certain people in the industry who most of the time are extremely famous, who are selling courses that are just quite average, but they're kind of selling it off their name. And I think in the last year, there has definitely been a massive increase in people really saying, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not spending money on courses. And if it's going to be if it's a course that doesn't have substance and it's just kind of like nothing of value, then people are not going to buy from you again, obviously, but they're actually going to be quite vocal about it. So, I guess that hint, one of the things that I think is going to change is that the quality of courses is going to have to increase. And I'm not talking about like camera crews and all of that kind of stuff. Definitely not, because that stuff has never mattered in this space. But I think it's more about that what you're actually teaching, and that you actually care about the people buying your course, and that they actually see results, is going to be more important than ever. And I don't say that because, you should feel scared that you're going to get called out if you have a course that people don't like. But I think that building trust is going to be more and more important. And of course, there's this little thing called a recession that I'm not sure if it's actually officially become that in Australia. I don't think it has, actually. I'm not quite sure. But there's definitely a lot of talk about it. Like, I know that with a lot of my coaching friends, people were saying that people were having smaller launches that they used to, and they're having to launch more than once a year to make the same income and that kind of thing. And I think just all of this talk in the media, like we've got rising interest rates, which is obviously affecting people, and rising prices with the inflation. And even just that talk, even if one wasn't affected by that and had money to invest in themselves, they may just take a little bit longer to be convinced to spend it. You know what I mean? So I think that while I don't necessarily buy into the whole no one's going to spend any money, because that is absolutely not true, it's something that we do need to be aware of going into 2023, and how, like any good business, right, I think sometimes in the online space we can not work off common business sense, but sometimes we need to be ahead of trends and actually look at, well, how are we going to deal with this? Is the market changing? How can we change our messaging and all of that? So what are these changes, like these kind of market shifts going to result in? I definitely think there's going to be a higher quality of your training that's going to be required. Like I said before, that's not about like production quality. It is about actually helping people get a result and achieve the transformation that they signed up for. I think people are going to require a lot more value to be given in order to part with their cash. I think that as a marketer in the space, we're all marketers. If you're selling an online course and you actually want to get sales, you're a marketer. High levels of trust are going to be required to be built with your audience if you want them to spend money with you versus the other person. So I think more connection and rapport building is going to be really, really important. So with that, here is what I think we're going to see in this online course, group coaching, digital product space in 2023. One thing I think we're definitely going to see with launching specifically is more hybrid launch events. So what do I mean by that? Like maybe traditionally in the past, you've seen more of a free challenge or a free webinar, and maybe there's a couple of webinars or whatever. It could be like a workshop or a boot camp or something like that. I think there's going to be more emphasis on a hybrid launch where you may bring those together. So you may do a challenge and a masterclass. Now, I think that there has definitely been people doing this, but I think it's become more mainstream, right? So a bigger launch event in order to create that attention and get as many people as possible into your launch, because the numbers that you get in are so important to your end result. I definitely think there's going to be a bigger focus on community with both free groups or communities and also within programs. And I think this is an interesting one because Facebook groups used to be massive and then they've kind of declined a lot. So I'm not sure if it's going to be on Facebook. I know Kajabi Communities has just launched, which is an interesting feature. And definitely, I think if you've got paid programs and you're using Kajabi, you probably should be using that to host your communities. But for free groups, like I'm not sure what that's going to look like with Facebook groups. I know Facebook groups can still be extremely effective, but they just don't look like they used to. They're not as engaging. But I definitely think if you want to build that trust and rapport, then getting that community feel going and actually being able to create that community is going to be massive. I also think that there's going to be more focused on a cohort style when it comes to online courses. So I think we will potentially see kind of more of a weekly call type scenario where you go through a course in a group and then your group finishes after however long the course is and then a new cohort comes through. I think that this is going to become more commonplace. So, and the reason I think that is because there is going to be that kind of request for a higher quality. Like our customers are actually going to call us forward to providing something, a better experience that's actually going to help people complete online courses or get the results that they were promised. So I think that kind of cohort style online course, I mean, it's pretty easy for us to do a weekly call, right? Especially if we know our content and really help people through. Who knows where that will go? Like, there could be way more resources and training provided around that. And will that be reflected in the cost? Like, I think this has always been a thing, but it has always kind of come at a high ticket price. I think people with the like signature courses around about $1,000 are going to want the weekly calls now. And it doesn't mean that you need to provide hands-on or individual support, but you need to kind of create that community there. People can move through the training together. I think we're going to see more accessible courses, so a lot more like mini courses, low-cost courses, like low-ticket offers, that below $100 mark from those who have exclusively offered high ticket and only offered high ticket, who maybe aren't established, who kind of have said, I'm only a high ticket service provider or a high ticket online course. I think because of the way that people are not willing to spend their money, they're going to want to spend smaller amounts and kind of dip their toe in. And the only way they can do this is if you have an accessible offer. So I fully believe in setting up your offers in your business so that one leads to the other. And I think this is going to be really, really, really important going forward. I think we're going to see also more membership style group coaching programs. This is kind of like a hybrid of different things. So it's a membership, group coaching, and a mastermind, plus maybe a little bit of private coaching, all in one offer. So they're kind of like group coaching programs that you can join and then you can just stay in them month to month after your initial period is. So that could be like 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. And then you can stay in and continue to get the goodness that you got in there. So I think that this is going to be good, like the people creating these, they're good for them because it's like recurring revenue. It's also really good for the student because you get to stay with the same coach and you get to know each other really well. You can get that kind of momentum instead of like chopping and changing and looking for something. That shiny object syndrome totally happens with coaches as well. So I think that is definitely going to be something that's going to become more and more common. It means that you can get to know a group of people really well. It's like more community, right? So it's all coming back to like connection and community. I definitely think that there's going to be more gamification and engagement within programs to help people really complete online courses, because we know in this industry the completion rate for online courses is quite low. And I also think we're going to see more tools, or like in that AI space, that are actually going to help create courses and resources so that you're not going to have to rely on your own energy as much. But I really think it's fully not going to do the work for you either. And those who can personalize their online courses to what people want are going to win. I've tried quite a few of those tools and I think they're like really robotic, a lot of them, but I think they can give you a head start if you're willing to use it as a first draft and then go back and, make it your own. But I think that's a really interesting space to watch. I actually don't think it's going to change the space that much in the coming year though. Now, another trend that I'm seeing, and I'm not sure what I think about this and I'm not sure where this is going to go, is people are starting to sell white label courses that you can literally just like take things, put your own logo on it and then resell it. I'm really interested to see where this goes, and I don't know what I think of it. In fact, I think, actually, that's not true. It just doesn't feel legit to me. It feels really off, to be honest. But I'm just interested to know if we are going to see more of that. It's not something that I would recommend doing. Like, I know the people that I work with really have got so much knowledge and they really want to help people and they're using their own IP to do that. I don't know if I really agree. I know that I don't agree with really using other people's resources and then reselling it. It kind of makes this industry really like commodified. And yeah, it'll just be interesting to see what happens there. Now, here's what I think will happen, like what we'll see less of, I think that we'll see less of once a year big launches. I just think that with the way the economy is and all of that kind of thing, we're going to see people having to launch more often than they would. Now, if you're thinking, oh my God, I don't want to launch more than I already am, like, I'm talking about the people who do one launch a year and make $1 million or more. I think those people will have to launch more than once a year. Now, there's a few things that I think we'll see less of in the coming year, and it all kind of ties in with what I've been talking about. I think that we'll see less of the big once-a-year launches and more like continual launching. I really think those people who are willing to sell and have a way of making money every single day are the people that are going to really do well this coming year. I think that we're going to see less super high ticket courses with like not much contact, and that people are going to really want high ticket, high contact, or there is going to be quite a big demand for that DIY as well. And I also think we're going to see less dodgy courses coming out. I think that people who have really profited hugely from offering really average courses in the past, I don't think it's going to work anymore. I think that people are clued onto this and they're going to really think twice before they spend their money. So what you offer has to be good. And that's not to scare you off and say it has to be perfect right out the gate and everyone has to have the best results in the world, because not everyone that goes through your course will have amazing results, especially if they don't do the work. And there is a point that is on them. But I think that to do what you can and be willing to improve your program as more people go through it and you get that feedback, I think it's going to be really important to do what you can to make sure that people are getting the results that they signed up for, that they paid for. And yeah, so I think this coming year is going to be full of opportunity. I think when the economy does this kind of thing, there's so many opportunities. I do think that we need to start shifting and really noticing what our customers want more than ever, because it is kind of like a transitional time. And as I always say, I think that we get to really craft our own businesses. So doing what feels good for us, lining that up with what your audience wants, making sure it's in full alignment for you, and then also taking note of what's happening in the market, that is a winning combination, and I think it's going to see you well through 2023. So that's it from me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I also still have some one-on-one coaching spaces left for next year, 2023. So if you really want that kind of like handheld situation of coaching one-on-one with a mentor like myself, and you want to either scale the online courses you've already got, or you want to start and actually put an online course together and launch it for the first time, I can definitely help you in that one-on-one coaching. So if you're interested in that, head over to louiseblakely.com/coaching. Okay, that's it for me today. I hope to see you in the next episode coming out later this week. Thanks, course creators and go-getters. You're incredible, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit subscribe in your podcast app so you don't miss an episode. If you'd like to find out more about what I offer, head across to loublakely.com. See you next time.